Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. Since before the democratic era, in order to stabilize their rule, feudal regimes in various places have used many torture props to suppress dissent. Today we will take a look at 7 famous torture props in history. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. The dark side of human history, torture. From ancient times to not so long ago, folks have been getting creative with their methods of punishment. Whether it was to extract confessions, punish enemies, or just for plain old revenge, torture was a go-to move for many. But let's not get it twisted, torture wasn't exactly the gold standard for truth serum. Even Napoleon Bonaparte, not exactly a softie, knew that squeezing someone for info often led to a lot of hot air and not much else. Now, when it comes to tales from the past, things can get a bit embellished. Ancient Greek historians had a knack for spinning yarns that were more fiction than fact. And let's not forget those stories about medieval Europeans and their supposed torture contraptions. Sure, things were rough back then, but some of the devices folks claim they used, well, let's just say they're more likely to be found in a horror movie than in a history book. So, buckle up and prepare to cringe as we dive into the world of historical torture, where reality and imagination blur into one twisted tale. The Brazen Bull. Picture this: Sicily, 6th century BCE. You've got Phalaris, the quintessential bad guy ruler, a real piece of work, let me tell you. Now, legend has it that this guy cooked up one of the most diabolical torture devices known to humanity, the Brazen Bull. Now, this wasn't your run-of-the-mill barbecue. Oh no, this was a life-sized bronze bull with a twist, literally. Inside, it was hollow, with a little door on the side for easy access. You know, just in case you felt like roasting someone alive. Here's the kicker: they'd stick the poor victim in there, light a fire underneath, and let the bull do its thing. But it gets worse. The bull had this twisted acoustic system that made the victim's screams sound like, you guessed it, bull noises. It's like a nightmare on steroids. Now, before you go calling Peter on ancient Sicily, let's pump the brakes a bit. This whole tale comes from a Greek historian named Diodorus Siculus, who was kicking around about 500 years after Phalaris allegedly went full barbecue mode. And you know what they say about history, it's like a game of telephone, but with a lot more embellishments. Even Dante, the OG poet and philosopher, name-dropped this twisted tale in his Inferno. But let's be real here, folks. This is more likely a bedtime story for scaring kids than a legit piece of history. The Aenophaga. Let me paint you a picture from the ancient Greek playbook, a time when kings got creative with their torture tactics. Enter stage left, Nabis, the Spartan king, a real piece of work if there ever was one. Now, Nabis had this reputation for being a bit, shall we say, ruthless. Legend has it that he cooked up this contraption straight out of a mad scientist's dream, the Aenophaga, also known as the Aphaga of Nabis. Picture this: it's tax time in ancient Sparta, and Nabis is out to collect. But there's always that one guy who's like, nah, I'm good. So, what does Nabis do? He invites the guy to give his missus a hug. Seems innocent enough, right? Wrong. Because his missus isn't your average spouse. She's a torture robot straight out of a horror flick. As soon as the poor sap wraps his arms around her, bam! The robot's got him in a deadly bear hug, complete with iron hooks hidden under her clothes. Ouch. Now, before you start drafting a petition to ban robots in ancient Sparta, let's hit pause for a sec. This wild tale comes from Polybius, a Greek historian who liked to spice up his stories with a pinch of drama. Some scholars even reckon this whole tax-collecting torture robot thing was just a metaphor, a way to show how Nabis squeezed every last coin out of his subjects. So, was the Aenophaga real? Probably not. But hey, it makes for one heck of a bedtime story, doesn't it? The Rack. That grim celebrity of the Tower of London's darker days. Picture this: a majestic castle that doubles as a dungeon, where the decor includes less than cozy chains and, of course, the infamous rack. Back in the 15th century, this was yeoman warders' go-to gadget for a stretching session you wouldn't find at your local yoga class. The deal was simple yet sinister. They'd tie ropes around a poor soul's wrists and ankles, then give them a tug. Not to help them touch their toes, mind you, but to stretch their bodies to breaking point and pop those joints like bubble wrap. You see, the guys running the show at the tower weren't just after physical flexibility. Oh no, they wanted intel. Accused of treason or not vibing with the religious status quo. you'd find yourself on the rack, being coaxed to spill the beans on your fellow troublemakers. Anne Askew, a bold writer and Protestant preacher, found herself in this dire stretching class in 1546. Despite the extreme pressure, she kept her lips sealed, refusing to name names. Her silence earned her a one-way ticket to the stake, where she was burned alive. And because the torture had left her unable to strut to her own execution, she was carried there. Talk about adding insult to injury. Truly a chilling chapter from the Tower of London, where the rack stood as a stark reminder of the extraordinary lengths, pun intended, the authorities would go to squash dissent and enforce conformity. The Scavenger's Daughter. Let's delve into the grim annals of history and explore the Tower of London's notorious rack, shall we? Imagine this, a medieval torture chamber, echoing with the groans of the unfortunate souls subjected to its cruelty. Enter the yeoman warders, the guardians of this grim fortress. Armed with ropes and a ruthless determination, they would strap their victims onto the rack, ready to extract confessions by any means necessary. With each agonizing pull, the victim's body would stretch and contort, joints popping and bones creaking under the strain. Why subject someone to such torment, you ask? Well, suspicion of treason or heresy was enough to land you on the rack. Those accused of plotting against the crown or straying from the established faith found themselves at the mercy of this brutal contraption. One such victim was Anne Askew, a fiery preacher with a steely resolve. Accused of sympathizing with the Protestant cause, she faced the rack's cruel embrace in 1546. But Anne was made of sterner stuff. Despite the excruciating pain, she refused to yield, her spirit unbroken by the torment inflicted upon her. In the end, her defiance sealed her fate. Frustrated by her refusal to confess, the authorities condemned her to death by burning at the stake. But here's the twist. The torture had left her unable to walk. So, in a macabre display of cruelty, they had to carry her to her execution, a grim reminder of the tower's dark history. And so, the legend of the rack lives on, a chilling testament to the lengths people will go to extract the truth, or what they perceive to be the truth, from their fellow man. The thumbscrew. Let me tell you about one of the nastiest gadgets from Europe's not-so-glamorous past, the thumbscrew. Now, picture this little devil. A device designed to inflict maximum pain by crushing a person's fingers or thumbs. Ouch! During the early modern period, roughly between 1450 and 1750, this wicked contraption became the go-to tool for torturers. They'd clamp it onto a poor soul's digits and tighten the screws, causing unbearable agony. Why subject someone to such torment, you ask? Well, much like the rack, the thumbscrew was a favorite among those looking to extract confessions. Whether you were guilty or not, if you found yourself face to face with the thumbscrew, you knew you were in for a world of hurt. And the names it went by. Some called it the thumbucken, while others had their own variations. But no matter what you called it, one thing was for sure. This little devil struck fear into the hearts of all who crossed its path. So, next time you complain about modern inconveniences, just remember the thumbscrew and be thankful you're not living in the era of finger-crushing torture devices. After all, history has a way of reminding us just how creative humans can be when it comes to causing pain. The pair of anguish. Legend has it that this wicked contraption was used by torturers to stretch a person's orifices to unimaginable proportions. Picture this, a torturer shoves the pair into a victim's mouth, vagina, or anus, then cranks it open, causing excruciating pain. Yikes. But hold up. While many think of the pair of anguish as a medieval torture device, scholars aren't so sure. You see, existing examples of this ghastly gadget contain coiled springs, suggesting they were crafted during the early modern period that followed the Middle Ages. And here's where it gets murky. We're not entirely sure how functional these devices would have been. Sure, they look terrifying, but could they actually widen orifices as intended? That's up for debate. So, the next time you hear about the pair of anguish, remember that truth can be stranger than fiction. Whether it's a relic of medieval cruelty or a twisted invention from the early modern era, one thing's for sure. This device is nightmare fuel incarnate. The Iron Maiden. The Iron Maiden. A chilling relic from the dark annals of history, or is it? Brace yourself for a tale of myth and misinformation. Imagine an upright iron casket, adorned with menacing spikes on the inside. Sounds like something straight out of a nightmare, right? Well, that's the Iron Maiden for you, or so they say. But here's the twist. There's no concrete evidence of these gruesome contraptions existing before the 1800s. That's right, the Iron Maiden might just be a product of more recent imaginations than you'd think. So, who's to blame for this bone-chilling myth? Enter Johann Philipp Siebenkees, a German philosopher who spun a spine-tingling yarn in the late 18th century. Legend has it that he penned a tale of a coin forger meeting his grisly end in Nuremberg in 1515, courtesy of an Iron Maiden. But here's where it gets interesting. The first known Iron Maidens didn't make their debut until the 19th century. Crafted and showcased in museums as relics of medieval torture, these macabre creations perpetuated the myth of their ancient origins. What do you think about this story? Please leave your comments. See you in the next episode.